Hi, this is Larry Hagar, Councilman for District 11. This is a meeting concerning property on Robinson Road, wherein the proposal is to do SP zoning for approximately 40 units, 8 of them single family, 32 multi-family units. And as I understand, Mr. Poston is one of the developers along with his engineers. This is one next to the area where they sell the storage sheds, and to the other side is Betty Drive, which those are R10 zoning, which allows single or duplex homes over there. My understanding is it would be egress from Robinson Road and egress on Betty Drive, an extension over there. It's also my understanding there are a few things I'm going to ask about once the proposal's over with, that the building materials and short-term rental restrictions apply, and we'll go from there. So I'll let Mr. Polson and his engineers discuss this with the meeting at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Levi Shira. I represent Tim Polston. I'm with Gresham Smith, and the proposed development that we're talking about today, we've named Clemens Reserve. Just as a proximity, it is off of Robinson Road, close to the intersection of Industrial and Robinson, with access. It will have access off of Betty Drive. The existing site that we're talking about is about 5 acres with pretty heavy topography from about 465 to 422, all sloping towards the southwest and the Cumberland River. It is currently zoned R10, being flanked to the north by R10 zoning and to the south by CS. And it has one single family home on it right now, almost immediately adjacent to Robinson Road with a garage. The site does contain about 0.5 acres of 100-year floodplain within the 5 acres. We do not plan to do any grading within that floodplain at this time. We plan to keep the entire development and all stormwater practices out of that floodplain. In the proposed layout, we do have 32 multifamily units and 8 single family units. As shown here, we plan to get access off of Betty Drive and Robinson Road. Water quality and detention will be to the southwest of the property, and it will continue along native drainage paths. And we plan to have a number of parking spots and sidewalks to connect the property to adjacent sidewalks and to park just the units on the site. Lastly, we plan to outparcel the existing home on the property as a separate piece of property and keep that existing home to keep some of the character on Robinson Road. So, Councilman, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Yeah, I got a picture of some of the homes there. And these are the ones that are 2-story with the garage at the bottom. Is that still the plan for these units, or has it changed differently?
Tim, would you like to answer that?
Yes. Yes, both the townhomes and the 2-story buildings are 2-story, Larry.
Okay, with the garage at the bottom, is that correct?
On the 8 individual units, there are garages. No garages on the townhomes at all.
All right, and they'll be what, 2-story, is that correct?
They'll look a lot like the ones we just finished, Larry, across the street there by Hadley Village. Yeah.
Okay. And are you gonna put any mason or brick on these at all?
Parts of those over there on Hadley Village had brick frontages. We're actually thinking about bricking the entire structures on the townhomes, and on the single family homes use a hardy composite material.
Okay. Well, we can discuss that, and if we want to put it in the SP, we'd have to put it in the SP as part of the plan.
We'll work with you on that.
Okay.
Certainly.
And the other thing is, of course, I don't, there'll be an HOA there. I don't want them to be any short-term rentals, so we put NS on it.
Yeah, I'll give you a heads up. The gentleman who is funding this whole project is a guy named Steve Griffith. And he actually, Steve Griffith.
Yes.
And he actually intends to keep all 40 units in his personal portfolio of rental units.
Okay.
There are no short-term rentals here.
All right. And I'd want that in the SP as well.
It can be added.
Okay. Do you know what they're going to sell for at this point?
Well, they're not for sale. They're not for sale.
None of them?
No, sir. All 40 would be kept in his rental portfolio.
So what's he going to do? Rent them out long-term?
Well, just rent them out to whomever would rent them. But I imagine there'd be at least a 1-year lease on anything, just like anybody else leasing a piece of property. You own what, 7 or 8 properties yourself. I'd imagine most of them are just 1-year leases. And then if they're a good tenant, they'll stay over for you.
Okay. And is there going to be an HOA?
I don't know if there would be or not. There would be no reason to be an HOA if nobody owns them but himself. So no, I wouldn't think there'll be an HOA here.
I guess, to clarify that, Tim, are you guys planning on HPRing these units out, and then he would just own all units within the HPR? Or are you going to keep it as a single parcel under unified ownership?
That's a good question for Steve himself. I'm surprised he's not on this meeting, but I can find the answer to that and respond back to everyone. I really expected him to be on this meeting.
Who's that?
The owner of this project, Steve Griffith.
Yeah.
He might be the phone number that called in. There's a call-in number, and I'm going to request him unmute.
Okay, sure.
A member of the public, or if it's a member of your team. So sometimes the call-ins can't unmute. Sometimes it's a little unfortunate thing about WebEx. They don't make it the easiest for call-ins, but if they are a member of the public and they have any questions, be more than free to ask any. And if you are a member of the development team, just let us know.
Yeah, I don't know whose number that is actually. I'm sorry.
If these units, are these going to be 2 and 3 bedroom units, or what are they, Mr. Folsom?
They're all 2-bedroom units, every one of them.
Okay, 2 bedroom. How many square feet?
Each of them would be about 1,200 square feet.
Okay. And if they were to sell on the open market, do you have an idea what they'd sell for?
Yeah, I think by the time, Larry, we get these built, these single family homes would sell for at least $350. And I would say that the townhomes would sell in the range of $280 to $300.
Okay. All right.
Or I'll give you a case in point. That first one we sold across the street, we opened at $206, and the last one we sold was $240. And we could have sold 3 times as many as we have. So I would dare say a year later, by the time we produce these, they'll be at least $280.
And those at the Hadley Village, are they 2 bedrooms?
They're 2-bedroom, 1,200 square feet.
Okay. They'll be similar to those then.
Very much so.
So he's going to open for now, and that way, if he wanted to sell them down the road, I guess he could. Would he have to put an HOA on it down the road if he sold these units, or what?
Yeah, he'd have to create an HOA if he sold them down the future. But his intent is to hold on to these long term. He's a relatively young man. He's just trying to get a bigger portfolio. But I can't speak for him, but we'll find out that answer for you.
Yeah, I need to find out that answer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let's put an HOA on that other one though, Larry. Hadley Village is an HOA.
Yeah, I knew that was an HOA on
Yeah.
Hadley Village. I was just curious because you're going to have some common area in here, and if he's going to own it all, I can understand not doing it. But down the road, if he sells it or anything, then you're going to have an HOA.
So, well, let's just answer it definitively. If he sells it down the road, yes, they will create an HOA.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Tim, one thing that I don't think we've talked, well, I know we haven't talked about is this will be at least 2 parcels, because I think that the extension of Betty Drive will have to be dedicated to Metro.
And that's what I was jumping in to say. Betty Drive will be a public right of way.
So you're gonna, so that divides the parcel in half. That doesn't matter to us. I don't think that matters to us.
okay. All right,
And
well,
technically then 3, because the existing house and garage will remain an isolated parcel as well.
yeah, the single family homes.
Yeah, there's no, I'm talking about the one up there on Robinson Road, Larry, the
This one
Clemens
up here.
family home right there.
Yeah, that-
We're gonna just keep it, and he'll keep that as a rental house as well.
So that's gonna be parceled out by itself, correct?
It will be, as you see it now. And we'll actually use that house as a construction office while we develop this site.
And these single family homes, they're gonna be like what, 4,000 square foot lots, or are they parceled out, or what?
Well, they're common area all the way around. So, I mean, it would be, they're just their footprint apiece. They have about a 600 square foot footprint on them. Hey, Larry, these houses are actually existing over on Stewart's Ferry Pike, right across from those state offices over there, children's homes. You know, that development went in a couple of years ago. They built about 10 or 12 of those 2 stories right there, and townhomes behind them. You know where I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
we're modeling. We're-
I know, yeah.
Yeah, we're modeling those single family homes after those units over there. They just fit real nice and cute looking and quaint. People, they sold as quick as they built them over there.
And I'll jump in and just clarify this a little bit for people watching later. So what's being proposed is a single parcel multifamily development that will have 6 single family style units. So there'll be detached multifamily.
But there are 8 of them technically.
Oh, 8. I'm sorry, 8. Sorry, I can't count. 8 that will be on the 2 part, 4 on each parcel on either side of Betty Drive.
Yes.
And in the future, should the current owner decide to sell the units individually to individual buyers, he would be required to establish a horizontal property regime, and at that point, draw out each unit on there and establish the HOA to manage the common open area around it.
Nicely stated.
This is not American Home for Rent, is it?
Oh, no. Steve Griffith owns something called SRG Assets. He's his own entity. He's the same guy, Larry, who owns all these wash and roll car washes around town. He just owns a lot of property. He's a man's got a big portfolio.
Okay, all right, well. All right, I'll open it up to the public now. Anybody want to ask questions besides me?
Larry.
Yes,
All right. So if this is going to be all common area broke up into 3 parcels, will it not have to be all re-subdivided?
he's talking about,
They will need to do a subdivision plat as a part of this, especially to dedicate the roadway and to split off the existing home. That would be a separate process done after the rezoning's gone through.
did I answer your question?
So it's going to be a re-subdivide as well as a SP, correct?
Am I correct on, is he correct on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean the subdivision would be it would be a result of the SP being approved to enable the creation of the Betty Drive extension and to split off the existing home.
So does it have to be re-subdivided before it would have to be an SP?
No, they would do the SP first and then do the subdivision after.
Then you can't, how are you going to get the R10 on a single family home staying on Robinson Road? How are you going to incorporate a single family home parceled off into an SP with HPRs, which by state law an HPR has to have a HOA? And how are you going to have single family homes with the intent to resell if they won't meet the current zone?
So the SP can include single family. It can include multifamily. They can also draw out that particular piece and keep that R10 and rezone the remainder of to SP as well. And it sounds like the intent of the developer is not to establish an HPR at this time, and these would just be considered multifamily on a single parcel. Or two parcels, I'm sorry, with the Betty Drive in the middle.
Then it's gonna have to be two separate parcels. One would have to have, you're trying to put an SP on 3 different parcels and then split the parcels up after you get the SP on.
Well, right now there's one parcel. The parcels haven't been divided. The parcel hasn't been divided.
That's what I'm asking. Are you gonna subdivide it? Or are you gonna put an SP on it and then try to subdivide an SP?
The SP is the zoning, and the subdivision is a different process. It's not, subdividing land isn't really related to zoning other than the terms of how you subdivide.
If you're putting an SP on it to create multifamily homes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, then how you gonna subdivide multifamily homes if you gotta have an HPR under state law with common areas?
Well, the existing home that they're splitting off isn't going to be a part of the multifamily area, and that'll be drawn in.
That's not what you indicated. You're gonna break it up into 3 parcels.
The multifamily portion will be on 2 of the parcels, and that parcel is being split because of the extension of Betty Drive as a public right-of-way. And so that will occur as a part of the SP because the SP calls for the extension of Betty Drive. And so for them to do that, they have to split the parcel. The other parcel is being drawn out as a standalone single family that may be included in the SP. It may be excluded by drawing out that portion of the parcel from the SP and keeping it the current zoning. I'm not sure. That would be a question for the reviewing planner to look at. Tim or Levi can answer that a little better. But in terms of applying an SP related to any potential future subdivision, there really is no impact as long as the future subdivision complies with the terms of the SP.
So you're saying that any subdivision in Davidson County or any SP can be re-subdivided regardless of the subdivision regulations at the time?
No, what I'm saying is that the SP is being done in such a way that a future subdivision of the parcel would be compliant to the terms of the SP. If you have an SP, you can do within that SP what that SP allows. In some cases, that does allow for subdivisions. There are SPs that are approved that result in 200, 300 unit subdivisions.
Okay, so what's the zoning going to be?
The zoning is going to be SP.
But the intent, the possible intent, is to sell off the 8 single family homes. If you have common areas, then how are you going to? What's the final zoning going to be?
I think you're confused. The 8 single family units on the property are going to be a part of the multifamily portion remaining with the developer. I think the existing single family home that's being carved out is also remaining with the developer, just on a different lot. So there is.
That's not what you said. That's not what you're indicating.
What I understood is all the SP with the single family and the multifamily stay in one plat. And then the house over there on Robinson Road would be separated out under a separate.
Real quick, are you intending to include the single family home that's remaining in the SP, or are you going to try and carve that out and preserve that as R10?
We're carving it out. It's just, we don't want it included in there.
Okay, so the existing home will be carved out. The remainder, including the single family style multifamily units, will be a part of this rental development.
That's correct.
So then the property would have to be subdivided first, correct?
No, the subdivision would occur after the SP has gone through, or they would still start on it after they get a good idea that the SP, maybe submit the application, reading or whenever.
Well, if they make the house on Robinson Road a 10,000 square foot lot, that would just be subdivided out from the rest of the property.
Yeah, they could do that separately before the remainder of the SP gets it.
Right.
Okay, so where's the easement gonna come in to get their entrance off of Robinson Road? You keep on, the whole point I'm getting to is you're cutting this 5 acres for 40 houses, keep on cutting down to like 3 or 4 acres.
My question would be, are you not seeing the video and seeing the
I
image
can't
on the
see the
screen?
video because I am not online. This information is not public information. If you had listened to him earlier, I dialed in.
Yeah, so I will go over the site layout. Yeah. So the existing house is going to remain. The existing house has an existing driveway onto Robinson Road. The part when you go north along Robinson, the north part of that parcel along Robinson, the north part of the frontage is going to be a part of the multifamily portion of the site, and that's going to have a new driveway that goes back to access the 22 townhome units front, as well as connect into the extension of Betty Drive that bisects the property. On the other, and on either side of Betty Drive, you will have 8 single-family style multifamily units that address Betty Drive, and then the driveway will continue across Betty Drive to 10 more townhome style units behind those single-family style multifamily units, and there will be parking as well on both sides along the driveway for the townhome units.
So the extension or Betty Drive is going to be extended along the property line of the backside of that subdivision, correct? Is that what you're telling me?
It's going to go through the middle of the parcel in question and dead end at the parcel on the other side that's currently zoned CS.
So that's what I'm saying. Where within parceling off the front where that house is separate, how are they going to go across that parcel and get to Robinson Road without granting an easement?
They don't. They're not parceling off the entirety of the Robinson Road frontage to that existing home. They're only parceling off a portion, leaving a remainder of the Robinson Road frontage with the multifamily portion to allow for a driveway.
Then what's the zoning going to wind up being on that single family home?
R10.
The existing house is going to stay R10.
That is correct.
Okay. What's the frontage of that? What's the frontage of the property up there now?
I would defer to Levi on that. I don't have the...
That's not something that I have readily available. I would say that the existing single family house that's going to stay is going to have a little bit more than half of the total frontage of the piece of property. And so half of it's going to, if you look at the frontage, we're going to say half of it is the existing house and the other half of it is the driveway access to the new development.
Okay. So is that going to meet your criteria to have driveway entrances, 50 feet apart? Is that correct, Larry? Is that what the entrances are now, 50 feet?
I can't tell you that right now. They maybe can. I haven't measured it.
It's more than 50 feet.
The NDOT will grant approval for the driveway, and the new driveway will have to comply with NDOT standards.
And it has to be a minimum 50-foot right-of-way dedication, correct?
Correct.
With the new sidewalks on the front too, correct?
Correct.
So back to my original question, won't that have to be re-subdivided first with an easement granted to extend that drive down to Robinson Road?
No, because what they're doing, like you just said, half of the frontage, basically where the existing house is, that will be subdivided off. And the remaining frontage on Robinson Road will go with the SP plan. So it'll be separate from the home, the single family home that's zoned R10. So there won't be an easement. What'll happen is after the road frontage goes to the house that they're cutting off to an R10, and then the other half will be the entrance to the new development in the SP. So you don't need an easement because that's going to be dedicated part of the property of the SP, the frontage on Robinson Road.
And the existing, a little bit more clarification, the existing parcel is, we have 250 feet of frontage.
Right. So if I'm looking at the plan right now, it looks like you're going to have about 100, a little over 100 feet frontage for the SP, and then the balance is going over to the single family home.
So it's gonna meet the R10 zoning
Yes, sir.
with the setbacks and everything else, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're talking about the single family home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think since the questions have been asked and answered, Councilman Hager, do you want to wrap up the meeting?
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to do is request that some of the things I've requested, like some of the masonry and brick, again, has to be added to it. I think that was the two biggest things I wanted to talk about. But we'll tweak it as we go along. If there's anything else that comes up during the any of the other meetings, planning commission or the council, we'll deal with it at that time. Any other questions? Anybody can email me at Larry.Hagar at Nashville.gov. And any other questions? No other questions. I'm going to conclude the meeting.
And I'll jump in real quick at the end and say that this meeting will be uploaded to the Metro Nashville YouTube page, so you can rewatch it at your leisure, and as well as to see a good example of the layout. So with that, the meeting is concluded.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.